when the first silver strand of dawn slides beneath your curtain. You feel the weight of unspoken worries and wonder if any whisper can cut through the noise of the coming hours. Yet the hush before birdsong is holy. In that still air your heart is invited to lean close to the one whose voice steadies oceans and nerves alike. He is your sure refuge, a presence stronger than fear itself. This quiet pause exists so you may trade forecasts and schedules for unhurried trust, letting his light seep into places that slept in shadow. After the fire came a gentle whisper. E1 Kings 19:12. God's soft tone carries power no storm can drown. Lean toward it and discover courage hidden in subtle syllables. Which burden do you need him to lift? What fresh steps of obedience do you crave his guidance for? Now, as your heart grows still, we step into the day's first benediction. The curtain sways as a faint breeze glides through your room, and in that simple movement you sense more than air. You sense invitation. You have awakened, yet the world outside has not fully found its claimer, giving you a narrow sanctuary between dreams and deadlines. In that sanctuary the Maker kneels beside your restless thoughts and speaks with tenderness that never fractures silence. You breathe slow, allowing each inhalation to become a prayer unspoken, each exhalation a surrender of the anxieties stockpiled overnight. Nothing about this early hour is accidental. Heaven choreographs it so you may discern the undertone beneath all other sounds. The whisper is not flashy, not loud, not coercive. It is a mother's humming, a lullaby reversed, here to rouse rather than lull, to restore rather than restrain. You notice how dawn paints the ceiling in diluted rose, and you realize color itself can tutor your spirit. Hues shift gradually, never rushing, yet inevitably filling every corner. So too the voice of God permeates your thinking, gentle yet unstoppable. If you choose to remain still long enough, that choice is a discipline of delight, not a duty of drudgery. You do not force words, you welcome presence. You do not manufacture feelings, you receive assurance. In this receiving, yesterday's regrets lose their grip, like damp sand slipping through opening fingers. Allow memory to recall Elijah on the mountain, winds splintering rocks, fires licking stones, earthquakes rattling confidence. Yet none of those spectacles carried the message he needed. Only the near silent breath of God restored his mission. That same breath brushes your cheek now, asking nothing but attention. So you listen. You might hear a directive. Call a friend. Forgive an offense. Rest your striving. Or you might simply inhale the certainty that you are known. Either outcome is victory, for divine knowing precedes divine commissioning. Say softly, "Speak, Lord," for your servant is listening. And notice how your pulse steadies. You are no longer a refugee of worry, you are a resident of communion. The floor beneath you becomes hollowed ground, your humble room a temple where mercy rewrites the morning. In this sacred quiet, decisions find clarity, priorities reshuffle, and your identity aligns with truth instead of performance. Morning by morning, O Lord, you hear my voice. Morning by morning I lay my requests before you and wait expectantly. Psalm 503. Waiting is not idleness. It is fertile soil where divine purpose germinates, assuring you that what he plants at dawn will bloom throughout the day. Stay a few breaths longer than feels efficient. Let eternal cadence override the ticking clock. The whisper grows distinct when you refuse to rush, and soon you discern its rhythm guiding your first movements. Maybe gratitude before email, maybe scripture before headlines, maybe silence before speech. Whatever form obedience takes, the whisper seeds it, like dew seeding fragrance into a waiting garden. Rise now with ears tuned and spirit alert, knowing the dawn has delivered more than light. It has delivered the living word within you. The city has begun to stir, yet you remain in that slim boundary where dawn has not surrendered to noise. In this margin your listening heart unfolds like a lily, petals widening by degrees to drink the softest dew of God's voice. You sense how easily chatter clutters interior space. Task lists, notifications, headlines. So you release them the way morning mist lets go of the river, rising and vanishing without argument. Every exhale thins the fog inside you. Every inhale draws in a subtler atmosphere, one scented with eternity rather than urgency. Silence, you discover, is not an absence but a presence, an invisible guest who seats you at a table of holy counsel. Invite that still presence deeper. Frame the invitation with trust. You know the path I cannot see, whisper, and I will follow. When you speak such readiness, you shift from asking God to endorse plans to asking Him to write them. Your ears become instruments, tuned for nuance. A slight conviction to apologize, a gentle nudge to wait before replying, a spontaneous warmth toward a stranger who will cross your path. This tuning is not mystical escapism. It is sanctified attentiveness woven into mundane minutes. Like a musician accustoming fingers to strings, you train senses to recognize the timbre of heaven amid everyday sounds. Call to me, and I will answer you and tell you great and unsearchable things you do not know. A Jeremiah 33:3. When you call, you do more than utter needs. You unlock corridors of wisdom too expansive for yesterday's understanding. The reply may arrive as peace first, clarity second. Notice how listening requires humility, the willingness to be corrected, realigned, even surprised. Pride favors monologue. Love prefers dialogue. Therefore, love guides you to pause mid-sentence, to weigh internal narratives against divine truth, to leave blanks in conversations so grace can fill them. You may sense an inner halt that stops you from rushing into a vow, or a small green light that frees generosity. Each signal is part of a language learned only by prolonged nearness. The shepherd does not shout across valleys. He walks beside you and speaks low, assuring you that guidance is continuous, not episodic. To nurture this nearness, choose rhythms that keep the ear of your soul unclogged. Maybe linger 1 minute after reading scripture, letting syllables echo rather than escaping instantly to tasks. Maybe walk without headphones, letting birdsong carry hints of providence. Maybe journal questions instead of conclusions, trusting the blank lines to become canvases for fresh insight. Over time, these habits carve a sanctuary so spacious that divine direction feels natural, not novel. Even conflicts later today will find you less reactive because you heard serenity early. Disappointments will sting but not define because you heard affirmation first. whoever has ears, let them hear what the Spirit says. So Revelation 2007. Hearing is a choice, not a talent. The Spirit's song is already playing, waiting for the volume knob of your willingness. Hold this posture a heartbeat longer. Let gratitude rise for a God who speaks in whispers, dignifying you with intimacy instead of spectacle. As light strengthens beyond the window, carry this inner quiet into corridors, screens, and conversations. The listener within you will become a messenger of repose for every hurried soul you meet. You sense tremors of uncertainty lingering from dreams that slipped away at first light, echoes of unfinished conversations and headlines whispering doom. Yet the air around you remains still, as though creation itself waits for your next breath, urging you to exchange those tremors for quiet trust. Picture a lake at dawn. Mist skims the surface, undisturbed until sunbeams stretch across the water. Your spirit is that mirror, reflecting turmoil until love's glow appears. The moment it does, ripples calm and depth becomes clear. You choose to believe that hidden beneath every unknown lies the steady underpinning of God's faithfulness, more enduring than stone beneath the lakebed. Trust does not demand proof before resting. It rests first and discovers proof along the way. So you unclench the fist that holds today's concerns, deadlines, diagnoses, decisions, and watch them drift like feathers on the breeze. They feel lighter than expected because almighty hands now support what your shoulders can no longer bear. In this transfer, your pulse slows, matching heaven's cadence rather than culture's drumbeat. Anxiety, once amplified, fades to a whisper behind the louder testimony of promises kept across generations. You will keep in perfect peace those whose minds are steadfast because they trust in you. Isaiah 26:3. Steadfastness grows when focus narrows onto one unchanging presence. Peace is the fruit, not the prerequisite. Let that assurance anchor thought and emotion alike. Notice how trust changes posture, shoulders drop, jaw softens, eyes lift from screens towards skylight. You begin hearing ordinary sounds, coffee dripping, sparrows chattering, as background chorus to divine constancy. Even muscles remember grace, releasing tension stored in neck and spine. Such physical ease is not escapism. It is the body's agreement with spiritual reality that outcomes rest beyond your control yet within benevolent design. Soon planning feels less like conquest and more like collaboration, each task approached with the ease of a child alongside a strong parent. When apprehension tries to re-enter, perhaps through an unexpected email or a fleeting memory, answer with a whispered affirmation. My times are in your hands. Repeat it until fear loses momentum, much like waves that exhaust themselves against an immovable jetty. Over days, those repetitions carve neural pathways toward resilience, enabling you to face larger storms without surrendering composure. Quiet trust, therefore, becomes both shield and compass, guarding inner stillness while guiding discernment for each choice ahead. Carry this hush into hallways and inboxes. If others remark on your calm, let them glimpse its source. A God who issues gentle vows at dawn and keeps them through dusk. By noon the world may swirl, yet within you a hidden chamber echoes the same early promise. Peace, be still. Enter that chamber as often as breath returns, and you will find courage multiplying beneath every fold of silence. The eastern sky now brightens from blush to gold, and every shaft of new light sketches an invisible map across your floorboards, suggesting that divine direction often arrives as quiet illumination rather than booming commands. You watch those angles crawl, slow but certain, and you sense the same certainty touching your questions about where to step next. Decisions that felt tangled just hours ago begin to loosen, like knots warmed by patient hands. You realize guidance is less about receiving a detailed itinerary and more about recognizing the one who walks ahead, casting a glow wide enough for the very next move. Trusting that modest radius is faith in motion, you relinquish the urge to fast forward into noon, choosing instead to savor guidance given in morning increments. Consider how sunlight neither argues nor hesitates. It simply finds openings through blinds, between leaves, across water, transforming every surface it meets. Likewise, the Spirit searches your inner corners, highlighting motives, revealing opportunities, exposing pitfalls. Where light shines, clarity replaces confusion, and courage follows clarity. You begin drafting messages that echo kindness, selecting tasks that align with purpose rather than ego, pacing your schedule so soul and body keep step. Even errands acquire dignity because illumination frames them as appointed, not random. Your word is a lamp to my feet, a light for my path. Full Psalm 119:105. The lamp glows at ground level, urging you to focus on the next sure footing rather than the horizon's haze. Following that beam fosters humility and keeps wonder alive. Notice how guidance also corrects. When the light reveals a rough edge, grudges hiding in the heart, or shortcuts tempting integrity, you feel gentle conviction rather than shaming glare. That conviction is invitation. Redirect, adjust, realign. Responding swiftly protects momentum, much like a sailor trimming sails to catch favorable wind. You lean into that course correction, discovering that obedience increases brightness, resistance dims it. Soon every response, spoken word, click, gesture, becomes a stroke on the day's canvas, vivid because painted within radiance. To preserve this glow, practice attentiveness. Pause before meetings to ask, "Show me what matters here." Step outside for a minute of sky gazing when tasks blur. Write morning impressions in a small notebook so later hours can reference dawn's wisdom. Such habits turn fleeting beams into lasting guidance, ensuring that choices at dusk still echo convictions formed at first light. By late morning, when pace accelerates and opinions crowd, return inwardly to this sunrise panorama. Visualize those gold lines stretching forward again, reminding you that the same hand scripting planets is scripting your schedule. With that remembrance, pressure lifts. Progress no longer depends on frantic calculation, but on faithful collaboration. You carry light like a lantern into corridors others find dim. And without preaching a word, you offer direction. Through calm tone, measured reply, generous assumption. Day by day, these small beacons accumulate into a testimony, a life steered by whisper and illuminated by grace. Your feet touch the floor with new awareness. Every movement today can echo eternity if guided by the whisper you received at dawn. Obedience is often imagined as heavy duty, but here it feels like partnership, hand in hand with the one who sees the road beyond the bend. You sense promptings surfacing like steady drum beats beneath daily noise. Write the overdue apology, pause before the harsh reply, or for unseen generosity, choose integrity when shortcuts tempt. Each nudge may appear minor, yet heaven measures faithfulness in inches, not headlines. A small pivot now can realign the trajectory of an entire journey. You recall travelers guided by pillars of cloud and fire, learning that direction is not a map to study, but a presence to follow. So you attune your stride to subtle signals. A surge of compassion, a tightening in conscience, a remembered promise. And with each response trust deepens, forming muscle memory for righteousness. Obedience begins in the mind, where decisions simmer before surfacing. Train those thoughts to ask, will this reflect the character I just absorbed in silence? When tension escalates at work, answer irritation with a tempered tone. When progress stalls, resist despair and choose perseverance laced with prayer. When opportunity arises to highlight another's success, step aside so their light can shine. These choices scatter seeds unseen by most, but counted by Him who multiplies harvest. You will discover that joy accompanies surrender, the delight of knowing you cooperate with grace rather than compete against it. The Lord establishes the steps of those who delight in Him. Though they stumble, they will not fall, for He upholds them with His hand. Psalm 37 Century 324. Divine choreography steadies your pace, catching missteps before they become detours. Delight fuels momentum, not perfection. Remember, obedience is not sterile compliance, it is relational response. Like a child who trusts a parent's simple instruction to look both ways, you heed the gentle directive, because love has proven its wisdom. Sometimes the directive interrupts comfort. A phone call to reconcile, a budget readjusted for generosity, a silent hour reserved for intercession when screens clamor. Yet each surrender unlocks resources only available on the other side of yes. Unexpected peace, creative insight, deeper connections. In contrast, resistance breeds fatigue as you shoulder burdens meant to be shared. To nurture readiness, build micro-liturgies into routine. Whisper a blessing before you enter a meeting. Pause at midday to realign motives. Journal signs of divine alignment spotted since sunrise. These simple practices keep channels clear so fresh instructions reach you without static. Over time, obedience shifts from isolated acts to an embodied rhythm, like breathing, effortless because ingrained, powerful because sustained. Even missteps become lessons rather than verdicts. If you ignore a nudge and later sense regret, bring it into conversation with God. Embarrassment transforms into growth. When honesty meets mercy, He redirects, not discards, those learning to follow. That assurance prevents paralysis, freeing you to attempt bold kindness without fear of flawless execution. As afternoon shadows lengthen, you look back and notice a trail of quiet miracles, strained relationships softening, tasks completed with calm resilience, moments of wonder woven into ordinary errands. Each is evidence that obedience, however modest, writes paragraphs of redemption across mundane pages. Walk on, then, with ears tuned and posture pliable, trusting that the path ahead will keep unfolding under the same faithful voice that greeted you before dawn. Light now spills unfiltered across rooftops, declaring that night's questions have met their match in daybreak assurance. You stand in this widening glow and sense a benediction descending, not in grand ceremony, but in the gentle certainty wrapping every breath. It is as though the sky itself extends hands over you, tracing a quiet cross of favor upon your brow. You feel worries loosen like knots under warm water. They no longer dictate tone or tempo. Instead, peace rises from within, a well fed by deep aquifers of grace, discovered during the morning's listening. What began as a whisper has matured into a steady chorus, each note reminding you that divine presence does not evaporate with dew. It travels with you through traffic, meetings, and meals, softening edges where the world might otherwise chafe. Receive this blessing as permission to live unhurried, even when schedules accelerate. Let it color your words with patience, paint your gestures with kindness, perfume your silence with empathy. Where others scramble to prove worth, you can move with the poise of one already cherished. When tasks multiply, you can choose single-hearted focus, trusting that the same voice who planned galaxies also orchestrates timelines. And should disappointment shadow any hour, remember dawn's radiation still pulses beneath clouds, unseen yet undiminished, ready to reappear the moment circumstances clear. The benediction is therefore both shield and seed, shielding mindset from corrosive doubt, seeding hope that tomorrow will rise bright again. Carry the memory of stillness like a candle cupped against wind. In crowded corridors, recall the hush that taught you to hear. Its echo will guide responses more than rehearsed scripts ever could. In moments of triumph, pause just long enough to nod toward the giver, allowing gratitude to preserve humility. In valleys of complexity, borrow courage from the sunrise that split darkness without strain. If light could claim the sky so effortlessly, it can penetrate dilemmas no spreadsheet resolves. Such confidence is not arrogance, but alignment, a heart beating in rhythm with benevolent sovereignty. To keep benediction alive, weave micro pauses into your routine, a mindful sip of water, a window glance at moving clouds, a short blessing whispered over someone's name. Each pause is a hinge on which the door of awareness swings open anew, letting fresh breezes of assurance sweep stale air from thought. Over months, these hinges prevent spiritual rust, ensuring that dawn's gift remains accessible long after clocks move past morning. And when evening eventually folds the day into shadows, you will find gratitude already waiting to escort you back into rest. For the blessing spoken at sunrise has circular power. It carries you through hours, then returns you to the threshold of another listening dawn. Thus life becomes a series of sacred loops: whisper, guidance, obedience, blessing, each cycle drawing you closer to the heart that first whispered your name. Stand now, shoulders light, steps sure, and walk into the day with benediction fluttering like quiet wings beside you. You have heard the subtle voice, welcomed guiding light, chosen obedient steps, and received dawn's benediction. Hold this peace like a hidden ember, Let it glow beneath conversations and chores, rekindling whenever fear flickers. Remember, the whisper that met you at first light is the same presence sustaining galaxies. Nothing you face today can outrun that care. Before you move, breathe once more, feel the blessing settle, and savor this assurance you are accompanied, directed, and profoundly loved.